Leadership is the bedrock of success in the mining industry, shaping safety cultures, driving innovation, and steering operations through complex challenges. Today, we dive deep into what it takes to lead effectively in this dynamic sector. To guide us through this crucial conversation, we are joined by a seasoned mining professional with over 19 years of industry experience, having held various senior and executive roles across different operations. Lebogang Mphasha is a distinguished leader in the mining industry with over 18 years of invaluable experience under her belt. Currently serving as the head of Department for Mining Operations, she has held various senior and executive roles across different mining operations throughout her career. Today, Lebogang will be sharing her expertise on leading effectively in the mining industry. With her wealth of knowledge and hands-on experience, she'll provide unique insights into the challenges and strategies for successful leadership in this dynamic sector. Lebo, welcome and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with your journey, your upbringing, and all the way to you joining in the industry. Talk to us about your background.
So I was born in Matox, Butokwa, in Limpopo.
Yeah.
That's where I grew up. That's where my family is.
Yeah.
And I went to high school in Jane First, St. Mark's College, to a boarding school.
Yeah.
And that's where I got introduced to career-wise.
Yeah.
And which introduced me to companies that are offering scholarship or bursaries for university. I got a sponsor,
Sure.
Got into the mining industry from there. So I graduated in 2005 from Wits.
Sure. You have joined or held senior roles in, I remember, around 2015, 2014 there. And I'd say in that time, things that are crucial to the success of the mining industry were still developed. And I'm talking technology, inclusion, culture. Just talk to us about leading in that time. How was it like for you?
Sure. So, I mean, I look back to that time and I wouldn't necessarily say that things were being developed compared to now. I mean, gadgets. I mean, we use a lot of gadgets currently in our work. So that Wi-Fi gadgets, in the industry at that time was not as prevalent as it is now.
Absolutely.
But the basic way of how we do business, it's still the same, 2015 compared to 2024.
Sure.
And what the difference is in terms of leading then versus leading now, I just think it's the context in which the industry operates.
Sure.
At that time, what we used to encourage was people get a great education. Let's upgrade our workforce so that and let's create stability within the workforce. Let's capacitate competence, so within the operations. And now it's a lot more different because a lot more people have gone through school. The education levels are a lot higher. Like now, your minimum entry, you get people that apply to be an operator that already have a diploma or a degree.
Yeah.
So the focus is moved from let's capacitate our workforce to more how does the SME look like? So then it was get education, get employment. Now it's almost like a different picture. Do we have the right competence with SMEs that we have to bring into the workplace?
Sure.
And my view is the opportunities have changed. Then when I reflect, there were a lot more opportunities for a graduate or somebody coming into an industry. Now, I think there are a lot less opportunities. So the messaging or leading now would be, should you be able to grab that opportunity, you give it your best because there's a lot more people that are looking for it.
Yeah.
So that it's not more just about the education, but when if you get the opportunity, show up. And as I mentioned, the focus is a lot more on are we bringing the right SMEs? Are they competent? Your partners that are coming in that you want to be partnering with into your operation. Do they have the right competence? Do they have the right ethics? Are they doing what you want them to be doing? So it's different times, but different challenges.
Sure. Lebo, you stepped into a general manager role at a very young age, and I think around in your early 30s, I would say, and also as the first female general manager in the coal sector, I believe. And this means you must have had to pioneer a lot of uncharted ground. So just talk to us about some of the things that you had to do or even fight for to ensure that we enjoy the industry as it is today.
So yes, I always viewed myself as a pioneer.
Yeah.
Always viewed, because I had felt, but it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
You know, I think there were there were other females as well.
Yeah.
But the GM, obviously the GM was the GM role was what was in the limelight. But I mean, I can remember being like the first, or someone else being the first female chief boss, and us making big noise about it.
Yeah.
The first female section manager, the first female mining manager, for example. So the first GM for me, because there had already been so many other firsts.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of cloud, but to be honest, I actually think it made me more nervous. Like, why is so much cloud? Yes, it's just so much cloud around. Everybody was writing articles and so forth. But also, I'm not gonna pretend and say, it was when I joined. I remember when I got my MMC, we had this lunch with the people, with the principals that were our bosses at the time.
Yeah.
And this individual said to me, "Young lady, there are doors that are gonna open to you that you probably won't even be ready for. They're gonna, because of you're gonna have to you're gonna go into pioneer, and because of what in the legislations at the time and what was being required of the industry where females were concerned."
Yeah.
So so it wasn't just for me. I was there, but also the regulatory environment and the environment within the company where I worked allowed that growth, or allowed those appointments to be able to be done, like good mentorships and good mentorships, good exposure. I mean, I moved around. At that time I'd already been exposed to a lot of operations, and both open cast underground. And my part, I always viewed my part that when the opportunity showed up, I needed to show up. That's just that's what I viewed my role to be.
On any given day, Lebo, you and I'm looking at your role then and now as a general manager then in HOD mining operations now. You lead different teams. You are responsible for safety, production, and at the correct budget. You leading mining engineers, you leading contractors, you leading operators as well. What would you say is the hardest to manage?
The hardest to manage for me.
Sure.
So if I reflect and say, the last while, for me it's that we have to apply ourselves.
Yeah.
I view my role as I have to hold people accountable. Absolutely. And make sure they do what they're supposed to do. But at the same time, I have to not protect, but I have to shield them. I have to be that shield that says, okay, no, here I think we're taking resources we're not supposed to be taking, or here we're demanding what we're not supposed to be demanding, or here we've been too lenient. Here we're supposed to demand what we're supposed to be. So for me, the harder thing, has been that being able to take the no's, even though I sit there and I'm like, this is not the right no.
Sure.
That's been hard. Yeah.
Lebo, having a large scope, like you do now, requires you to be very strategic and tactical at some time around how you work around your work. So what would you say you've put in place to ensure that even if you've got this large scope to manage, things don't fall through the cracks? What would you say is your secret to holding it together?
So I believe in systems. Yeah. I believe that I had a manager once who said you have to set up a system that forces you to test what you have. So that and this can be like how you structure meetings, how you structure who you meet when, making sure that there's platforms where you're able to reach everybody that you can, platforms to be able to go to areas that you feel that you may be exposed. And that forces you to hear things that, and maybe 80% of the time or 90% of the time you might go there and have the same meeting, and it's like there isn't really red flags that you need to be dealing with, but at least it's like systems that can be able to tell you when things start to go wrong.
Sure.
I do believe that things don't just go wrong. You don't just wake up and boom, there's like a smash. There's telltales. There's a way that that things come up. So how I try, in my head, I mean, there's a rhythm, quarterly rhythm, there's a monthly rhythm, there's a weekly rhythm, that I spread myself in a way that I know if I can be able to be at 1, 2, 3, then I kind of know the pulse. I have a view of the pulse of what I'm supposed to be managing and how things are going. And in those different platforms, and I can be able to hear we're out of pulse, so we need to be focusing on something different.
Sure. Level production, well, the mining space, particularly production, can be very dynamic. I mean, it's always rush hour, it's always busy, deliverables, and so forth. And, sometimes it requires you to just consistently be pouring yourself because you don't have time to sort of necessarily slow down. And you can feel like you're pouring from an empty cup if you don't refill yourself. Would you say that has been the case for you?
Used to be.
Yeah.
That's why I went on the sabbatical. That's how the sabbatical has been such a great gift for me.
Yeah.
Because it taught me how to fill my cup.
Oh.
It taught me how to fill my cup.
Yeah.
It's been such a, so yes, I protect, my job where I'm concerned is to make sure my cup is full, because then I'm able to give and I'm able to hear, I'm able to, to be my best where I am. So yes, I know how to lead or manage from an empty space, from an empty cup. And I put in effort to make sure my cup is not empty.
Let's actually talk a bit more about, you just mentioned your sabbatical. Why did you take it? What had happened that made you feel like, what, I need time out?
I was in a role at the time that was not aligned to my ambitions. And then like a couple of months later, when I had to sit down with certain individuals, I realized, how I view myself wasn't how I was viewed at the time.
Yeah.
And what my ambitions were not necessarily, it clicked. It wasn't what I was gonna realize. Sure. So it's like when I looked in the water, almost like I could almost see my face, but the real water was muddy. If water is muddy, then it tells you my vision wasn't, Sure. So the sabbatical form, so I decided to jump. I sat there, I remember thinking, if I stay here, I'll be settling.
Yeah.
And I've been told you cannot blame people if this was my path at the time. It means I had gotten myself there. I needed to figure out how to get out of wherever that I was at the time. And for me, I had looked, I had thought I had spoken, I was almost like completing my MBA at the time. And I thought, you know what, I kind of know what I want, but materially it wasn't what I wanted. So the last thing for me was just to make that jump. So I did make the jump. And as I said, as I mentioned to you, me making the jump was to recalibrate, to say, absolutely, I don't want to settle. I want to do what I love to do. And even if it means there's a break and I have to get out there and start afresh. So that's why I went on a sabbatical.
For somebody who's also feeling like, I am exhausted, I'm tired, I need to reset and recalibrate. Sabbaticals are a luxury. Organizations don't easily just give somebody a long period off with pay. And it's got financial implications. What would your advice be for people to always, or to replenish themselves, or how to go about the sabbatical thing if they're really feeling frustrated and tired?
So it doesn't have to be a paid sabbatical. So if you you spoke of operating from an empty cup versus a full cup. So for me, if losing remuneration for 3 months to be able to learn how to keep my cup full, like that 3 months, it's a reset to set, you kind of put yourself on the runway again. So for me, it's worth it. Even if a person wants to go out there and request to go on sabbatical unpaid, like set up your own finances in such a way that you can be able to last for that period without finances. That would probably be something that I would say. What is in reach for a lot of people is their 4 to 5 week leave. Also, take that leave and let's just switch off the phone, and be able to recalibrate. And also, I think where I got to where I was because it had just been a build-up for years. So I think I made a lot of mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes, and it was a build-up for over years, over a long time. And so if I had done what I needed to do over the years, then probably I wouldn't have needed a sabbatical. I know people talk about every 5 to 8 years, there's a need for somebody to take sabbatical. There's somebody that I followed that talks about every 5 to 8 years, take a sabbatical. It helps, you rethink things. Some people follow that line of thought. If you're able to get proper leave annually, that would also help. And maybe something worth sharing. They say it's okay, get out there, in terms of doing your work, get bruised, but the minute you get wounded, so almost there's a difference between a bruise and a wound. The minute you realize that there's a wound, then take that 5-week leave and just shut down and heal. But don't let it fester and fester. Then boom, you will need a long sabbatical.
I can imagine for somebody who has always been in the corporate or in the money space for so many years, where you're always on emails, your phone is always ringing, and it's your first day or those 3 months of your sabbatical. Just talk to me about how your day looked like, where there is no email or there is no phone call, which can be traumatizing sometimes. How is that space like? How would your day look like when you took your sabbatical?
When I was a sabbatical. Yeah. So the first month I slept, even during the day. I remember it was during the COVID time. So I went on sabbatical April. Remember, the country got shut down towards the end of March, April.
Yeah.
So I couldn't travel. So I was at home. So some people do go on sabbaticals and they travel the world and whatever. So that's also maybe a good thing. So for me, the first month, I caught up on a lot of sleep. I did actually switch off. A lot of people call, what are you doing? Wait, when are you starting with a new job? So I did switch off my phone and literally separated myself. The second and third month, I had over years, gathered all these books. So I actually read. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of writing. Where I stayed, I was staying in Middleburg. Where I stayed next to a place where I was able to actually go for walks with my dogs, like literally on a daily basis. So this mountain-like thing. So for me, like I was hiking every day, for example. So the first month I did a lot of sleeping. Month 2 and 3, a lot of reading. I would wake up and bath as well. I'm going to work, sit on my desk and read, literally, read. Then go do a lot of walking that I did. And then the third month, that's when I started getting a bit nervous. Okay, I need to get out there. Yeah. And then, the fourth month, so at the time my mom was still my life, so she was living with me, and she was a renal patient. So we were very careful around COVID and who do you let into the home and with COVID. So she had traveled somewhere, so I requested her to do a test before she came back, and she tested positive.
And you're like,
so she had to, But that was such a gift. Yeah, I still remember it was August. It was such a gift because there I was, and I was left alone with my mom and for that month. Which was great because why was it great? So I've always viewed her as this. I still view her memory as the strongest person I've been exposed to.
Sure.
But in her days of infirmity, as we may call them, I literally saw her at her weakest, if I may put it. Then there I was. I had to help take care of her, and it was maybe not as clear when there was always somebody in the house. So this month she was in a way, and she couldn't come because of this positive COVID test, and I had to kind of step in. And that was a gift for me to see her, the strongest person I know, at her weakest. It's okay to be weak. And I think that kind of gave me, like an outlet and a healing. And that was the last month we had with her. And after that, so it was a gift spending time with her. And
Hi there, I hope you're enjoying the conversation. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so by clicking on the subscribe button on your screen. And also, we love hearing from you. Drop us a comment and let's keep engaging. Enjoy the rest of the conversation. So how would you say that rest has changed your personal and career life? That, I mean, I'm sure it had a lifelong impact even today.
So yes, with the reading, and I mean, I had a lot of time to read, to write things. I have a very clear view of how I prioritize things in my life. I understand very clear. I mean, being able to operate from a place of a full cup. I understand what that means, and I understand how to fill my cup. I have a clear view of what I would like to achieve, and I think and I think that I had time to be able to sit down and write down how do I enable myself. How do I enable myself to be able to reach the things that I would like to achieve. But I also think that so it helped me have clarity of thought, understanding of what I knew my strengths. I think I knew my strengths, but having things written down, I understand what to hone on. And before, there was always this talk of work on your weaknesses. I mean, I work on improve on your weaknesses, and so now I know my weaknesses. I understand I must keep them in check, but my focus is my strengths. I maximize my strengths. Yeah, so I think it helped define. It helped define. It also it humbled me.
Yeah.
The sabbatical. I remember month 4. It was end of month 4 now.
Yeah.
Panicking, calling a friend like, okay, I need to get into the industry.
Yeah.
For come on, almost like desperate for a door to open. So you go there, and here you are as previous GM, and now you're looking for work, and and it wasn't because of money. It wasn't because of money, and that's I jumped not because of money. Because I've always been a believer that money will always come. But it was for me. It's like I want to jump out of bed, and I want to be content with what I do, and I'm ready to walk away. If I'm not content with what I'm supposed to, with what I'm doing.
Yeah. Sometimes we really give ourselves to our work, like wholly to our work. Like we work to burn out. And at times it becomes a disservice to you and subsequently your organization. How would you advise people around seeking balance before the time?
Yeah. So and it's something that is not very well taught.
Yeah.
Because if you're not fine, and if you're not rounded, even your offering is not rounded.
Yeah.
In the work that you do.
Sure.
Even your offering will be distorted.
Oh.
Yeah. So I would say build in rest in your rhythm.
Yeah.
In your own rhythm, be it on a weekly basis. If you have to be working standbys, understand the standbys that you're supposed to be working, and then purposefully put in time of rest. So it's time of rest. Understand what refills you. Make time for it in your cycle, so that you've got time, or you are able to refill your strength, and also time to step away and rest. I treasure that now. I understand that now. For me, it's very key, and I don't think a lot of people do that actually. Yeah. So be mindful. Be objectively mindful that you, in your time, if it's once a week or once every 2 weeks, you will go away. It doesn't have to be pricey. I like gardening, for example.
Sure.
So on Saturdays, I'll get into because I know, but what is it that refills you, and make time for it.
What would you say is a mine incident, and it could be safety or performance or your experience in the industry altogether, that you think hit you the hardest, and to a point where you think, yeah, that was really hard to even digest, and almost say it changed your life? Just talk to us about that experience.
I can think of 2.
Sure.
One recently, and one maybe 2014.
Yeah.
Let me talk about the 2014 one, because it's old and people.
Sure.
That one, thank God the person didn't pass away. Got struck by a machine in the workplace. in an area where we had already, there was already work done. And it had to do with positioning, had to do with people, machine interaction. There'd already been a lot of talk around, the right positioning and making sure people are positioned right. But in that incident, yes, there was human factor, and there had been fatalities linked to like a similar occurrence. And for me, it impacted me. One, the direct interaction of what we were very lucky the person didn't pass away. So could have I was acting, the person could have quite easily passed away. The response, I had seen a lot of similar incidents and how in general management supported. I felt we were kicked. I didn't understand, I felt we were kicked, which is good because it cost a lot of introspection. But yeah, that was quite a not wounding, probably almost wounding to experience that. And also, as part of, but I understand, I understand why, because as I mentioned, there had been fatalities before and there had been work done in specific to what caused the incident or the issues around the incident itself. I walked away with a valuable lesson of, if you do something, just do it properly.
Yeah,
because
sure.
Like I say, the work had already been done. But if really we had done proper work prior, we wouldn't, after this incident, there wouldn't have been a need for everyone coming together again and reworking through every positioning and then be saying, this is how you relocate and so forth. So I think for learning from me was, when something happens, it's a gift, learn from it, move on, so that there isn't another similar incident that when or if not lucky could have costed a life.
Sometimes it's hard for people to reach out to you by virtue of the office you hold. How do you extend yourself to people in lower positions, and why is that important?
For me, it's the opposite.
Is it?
Yeah. I actually have to teach. I have to tell myself that when people come, I have to actually say, have you spoken to who first? Okay, I'm going to send you away. Go speak to, because so many people come to me first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, maybe it's a small physique. Or I don't know. Maybe I'm more the approachable.
Sure.
Yeah. So I actually had to teach if you speak to people, they'll tell you, she has to learn. They go to her, they complain, and they don't, tell them first. So yeah, it's almost like the opposite for me. People come and do share. It's got its positives, because you have to know who to send away. Sometimes you have to tell people to follow protocol and not come directly. But also it's a gift, because people trust you with things that they wouldn't necessarily tell others. Yeah.
Looking at where the industry was then, Lebu, and where we are today, what about the industry are you most proud of?
There's a lot of competent females out there. 10 years ago, that wasn't not necessarily the case. There's strong females that deliver, and they're resilient. So I think for me, that's very pleasing to see. So yeah, that's the one thing. I know there's been a lot of work in terms of, around the whole inclusivity and so forth. So that has been a progression in the industry. I can remember back then, culture around culture. I mean, now I can remember back then at a planning meeting, if there was like two, Black people, that was like, yeah, we're doing some work. People you'd hear almost like in the undertones, there's historically disadvantaged individuals are in our presence. Now you sit in meetings and you can see people have grown past the consciousness of races. Sure. Yeah, and there's a lot more either Black males or Black faces, irrespective of gender, or even colors or whatever, sitting on the table. So I think the industry, when I just started working in 2006, and it's almost 19 years. So the phases, the color of the faces and the gender has changed. And 10 years ago, there was a lot of underlying tones of, I got promoted because you're Black and female, or you're Black, and almost like criticizing competence. And I think now there's a lot of people that are sitting in roles, competent and delivering. So that has been a pleasant change.
Mining has its ups and downs, and I mean, sometimes when it gets harder, it's easy for people to call it quits. I mean, these different seasons can take a toll on just about anybody. What would you say to people in leadership roles navigating really hard seasons in their work life? It could be toxic environments, low productivity, declining safety performance, when you just don't see the results of your efforts. What would you say to those people?
Don't quit. Don't. I jumped to go on a sabbatical. Listen to me. But yeah, don't unless if you have a very clear view of a lot of people walk away. Someone once said, I had this. So in life, you walk. We all walk, and it's like you walk in, it's like you do the same things, and as you walk, you spiral up. And then you walk and you spiral up. That's how you have to master where you are to be able to go up to spiral ups. And I hope it makes sense. And if you are still spiraling in a place and you jump, you spiral down, which is why, and perfect example would be how I re-entered the industry. You need to understand how people get there. So like you say, we move. You have to overcome where you are so you can spiral up. And a lot of us, because we're still oscillating where we are, challenged either by safety or you're struggling with a bad boss or whatever, we jump. And then when you do that, you actually spiral down, like you lose a level. The next time you try to re-enter, you fight a level you last won, which is, in English, it's called demotion. Yeah. So really, resilience for me, hence why, I put in the effort to fill my cup. I put in the effort. I make sure I fill my cup. That where it matters, that I don't make the jump. I mean, there are times when it can be safety or production or just like really having difficulty in relating with individuals around. When I first joined the industry, someone said they are good people. I remember that gentleman saying to me, there are good people everywhere. So look, there are good people everywhere that can be able to give give the help that you need. Sometimes just hope people reveal themselves. If you're struggling with a bad boss, people unveil themselves, and nobody is just a bad person prevails, forever. Like people unveil themselves, and there's things have I know it's probably maybe the optimistic level, but things have a way of falling into place. So my advice would be hang in there. I know LinkedIn says don't hang in there. Hang in there. Find people who can help you. Find ways of, remember the whole thing, bruised or wounded. Don't get wounded. Bruised is fine. It's easy to heal. Find ways to be able to take care of your inside so you don't get wounded. So no matter the crashes or the hostility on your outside, protect your inside. When your inside is, then you'll be able to withstand the outside. I hope it makes sense to me. But it makes sense to me.
Yeah. It is clear that effective leadership is more crucial than ever in our industry. Lebogang's insights have demonstrated that it is through this leadership where we can drive our industry forward, ensuring that it remains innovative, responsible, and resilient in the face of future challenges. Thanks for watching. Goodbye and God bless.